when I was fighting the VA, I had to get a VA attorney. Like, wait a minute, I got to come out of pocket to fight for benefits that I'm owed. And we wonder, you and I don't, mom and pop Americans wonder, why do 22 veterans take their own lives every day? Well, maybe because one day they go from being on the top of the world with the ultimate trust of this nation. I went from having a top secret SCI clearance, pointing off an aircraft carrier to the next day, I'm a liar.
Yeah.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome aboard the Max Afterburner podcast, brought to you by the No Fallen Heroes universe. We have a very special in-studio guest today, Kristopher Pace. Kris Pace, how you doing, my brother?
Hey, man, it's so good to be here. Now, I am so stoked.
West coast of Florida, where'd you drive over from?
I came all the way over from Tampa, a little bit north of Tampa, yeah. So
okay.
It was not too bad of a drive, nice and pretty through the state.
Yeah.
Easy.
Alligator Alley, man.
Exactly. The swamps.
Well, we're getting Noah's Ark type of weather here.
Yeah, it's been sunny up there. So
really?
Maybe I'm going to stay up there for a little while longer.
Dude, we've been getting hammered, man. I'm trying to fly the jet out to Colorado on Thursday for the summer flying. It's just too hot down here to operate the jet in the summer. So I hope it clears up, man, because we need to get out to Colorado. So, man, I've been... things just keep getting better. So what was it? 3 weeks ago was my 4-year anniversary of sitting with the medicine. As you and I talked about before on your awesome podcast, everybody needs to check out Kris's podcast. 2019, 2018, spiraling the drain, drugs, alcohol. Buddy down in Fort Lauderdale's like, you're in a bad place, man. Why don't you go try some yoga? And I'm like, man, I would fucking kick my own ass if I saw me in wearing some Lululemon doing a downward dog.
It's not a good picture to paint. I understand.
It isn't, especially for me. But I'm like, all right, man, what can I lose? So I went down that street to a yoga joint down in Fort Lauderdale, and come on, man, chicks do yoga. I'm a fighter pilot. I can do this. 25 minutes in, I thought I was going to drop dead. I was on my back, begging God for forgiveness. But I found some meditation practice after that, which was incredibly difficult. And then that led me to the medicine. So 4 years ago, finding the medicine. And then 4 years, almost to the day, years later, I'm walking in the VA. And then you and I hooked up a couple last week or 2 weeks ago, man. Just I'm honored to know you. Looking forward to flying formation with you and putting the ladder down to help save and change the lives of our heroes. So give us the Kris Pace executive summary. I know you've given it to me, but for all our folks, listeners and viewers out there, military background and how you got here today, man.
Absolutely. I would love to. So my story is very, in my opinion, very just cliche as far as the way things go. So I went into the United States Air Force at...
They're barely on our side, folks, but, well, I'm really lowering the average of this podcast with another Zoomie. That's all right. Well, my oldest son's a Zoomie, so that's all right. I still love him.
We all got to participate on some level.
Exactly.
So, yes, I joined the Air Force, went in there, and, had every dream of being a pilot. That was really what I wanted to do, but I was heavily recruited for football out of high school, but I didn't have the family support or financial support to be able to take a scholarship. Mm-hmm. So I saw an opportunity to go do something that I've always wanted to do, but also get an education, get myself ahead, get myself started. Came from a very, very poor childhood. So joined the Air Force, went through boot camp, had one of the toughest tech schools. I was in the calibrations business, and we calibrated all the most high-tech equipment for all the aviation, missile guiding systems, everything else in the military, which is a 10-month tech school with a very high dropout rate, extremely high.
Yeah, folks, so if something ain't calibrated, it ain't working.
Yes.
And people can die. So that is a very tough tech school.
Literally one of those things where like 0.00001
decimal
and 0.0002 lands a missile in the wrong country.
Correct. So it's an international incident.
Exactly. So that's a very important job, but also taught me a lot of patience. It taught me how to literally sit still and hold, because you're on a mat in a controlled environment and all that kind of stuff. Got to do some extracurricular stuff with, led the entire sports program for my squadron as an E3, which was given to me by a lieutenant colonel. And basically I was in charge of fitness for the entire squadron. And so running that fitness program, like you said in your podcast, you were never in combat. I was never in combat either. Got hurt in training
Yeah.
And in training, I suffered a traumatic brain injury. At that point, I had already been promoted to below the zone with the Air Force in 3 years, which just happened to be, I went in June, so it put me in December, which gave me 6 months time and grade so I could test for E5.
Mm-hmm.
So I went and tested for E5, but never got to put that on because I got accepted to go be an officer and finally go to pilot school.
Mm-hmm.
So they accepted me. It was my second time applying, and the first time they turned me down because I had a business degree on the thing, and Air Force doesn't want anybody. If you fail out of pilot school, they don't need a business guy.
Correct. They want the they want the 500-pound head majors.
Exactly. And so I was like, well, I just went through the toughest tech school they have in electronics.
Yeah.
I've got an electronic associate's degree.
I'm not an idiot.
Surely I can do, engineering. So I went into electrical engineering, got to college at University of South Carolina, where I was, went to walk on the football team, was actually doing really well as a place kicker because I can kick a football a mile. And so then injured myself. And then they came to me and said, hey, why don't you become a cheerleader? And I was like, I don't know anything about cheerleading. I have no idea what that means. But in college as a male cheerleader, that's a really great place to be.
It is, but those are some of the most athletic guys. Not a lot of listeners or viewers would know this. I was a cheerleader for a year in college, man.
Get out of here.
Yeah, throwing toss to hands, QPs.
Yeah, brother. That's exactly it, man.
My beautiful bride, Susie, was a cheerleader at JU.
So you know how they hook you in, right? They do the toss chair right away.
Yeah, toss chair.
And as soon as that's done, you're over. You're in.
Yeah.
But I mean, the amount of training that I went through for that was far more difficult than military, than football team. It was like, it was intense. And so, but we also had a lot of FaceTime with a lot of people, which was great. But I was in ROTC going through finishing my degree in electronics. And as I was starting to struggle more and more with headaches, with dizzy, vertigo issues, memory issues. Whereas before it was all very easy for me.
Yeah.
And now I was having to really work to make stuff happen. And that was like, what is going on? I mean, the traumatic brain injury, I kind of like did what everybody does in the military, and you never show pain, never show weakness, never tell anybody you got hurt because it can eliminate you from opportunity.
Correct.
Or eliminate you from the military.
Yeah. You don't Roger up to any of that stuff, man. You keep that hidden. Let them find it.
Exactly. Prove
if I'm going to get washed out, you're going to do it, not me.
100% accurate. And unfortunately, that's the mentality vets bring to the civilian world, which we're getting
We'll get to that.
We're fixing that. So that's going to be fixed. But so, yeah, I get to college.
Now, what was the injury? How'd you get hurt?
Well, I was basically in charge of the intramural program for the entire base and for my squadron. So, and I was in Okinawa, which is where the all Marine bases, but there's also Navy, Army, and Air Force all on the same island. So they had a lot of intramural between the four branches, which was great because it gave camaraderie, it gave crossover between
inter-service riveries.
Exactly. And so I was literally I had to go fill in whenever there was somebody needed for each team, for each sport, that kind of thing. So I had done, the soccer thing. I did this thing, whatever. And one day I ended up showing up to one of the flag football games, and I was like, they didn't have anybody to play quarterback who didn't show. So I was like, I'll play quarterback. I played it in high school.
I got it.
Got this. I can do it. Whatever. I watched enough football. I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night.
Exactly.
So I was
quarterbacks do it. I can do it.
Exactly. It can't be that hard. So I did. I jumped in and played, and I actually had a great game. Did really well, and even had a 100-yard touchdown run in the game. But one of the plays, I was running across the field, and as I did, somehow collided with a guy who was big, and had a really strong knee, apparently. So hit right in the right spot, knocked me completely unconscious, had to carry me to the hospital.
Oh, my God.
They, scanned the brain, looked at all the stuff, and they're like,
could have killed you.
It could have absolutely killed me. And I believe there's a reason why I didn't, because that's why I'm here today.
Amen.
There's been a number of things that have happened since then that probably should have killed me. And if I wasn't being watched over by God and the way that having a mission at hand that I needed to get to, then I probably would be dead.
Kris, isn't that an incredible place to be at in your life? There's no way on God's green earth I would have ever been able to say the sentence, I'm thankful for my suffering.
Exactly.
Because it brought me, I'm sitting right here today talking to you. Isn't that incredible?
That is incredible.
When you can find any shred of gratitude in the bad, you're making money. You're doing pretty good.
And that's what I posted yesterday on your post, because the gratitude that he showed, Rob, and the gratitude you showed, and it was like, that was such a gratitude post. And I believe that if you're grateful for everything that's happened to you in life, then you can truly say you love yourself.
Correct.
And you can move from your mind to your soul and start living in your soul. And your soul is in alignment with God and with the earth. So now everything just flows.
Correct.
And it's so smooth and easy. Like I'm sure, as you know, it was challenging being alive before you move to your soul. You're always fighting this battle.
Correct.
Always questioning things, always wondering why you don't feel adequate, even though you've done all that you did and still were,
correct,
not happy and to the point of escaping reality with drugs and alcohol, which that's what everybody's doing. They're not addicted to the drug. They're addicted to escaping.
They're hiding from something. And it's amazing you say that, because any suffering that I've endured has always been in the past. And it was in that present moment. There is never a past. The past is chemicals in your brain. It's neurons thinking about something.
That's right.
The past only happened in that present, which doesn't exist.
Exactly.
It's only the now. That's another one of those concepts, man, where old Whiz would give me a wedgie right now if he heard me talking like that. But it's the truth, right?
It is the truth. It's an old chapter in your book, and it doesn't exist anymore. And what I find even more interesting is how many people say they know me and have opinions of me, but if you have not been around me in the last 7 days, then you don't know anything about me, because I am not the person I was 2 weeks ago, 2 years ago, 2 months ago. That person's gone. That person is not here anymore. What's
that saying? It's no man steps into the same river twice, because he's not the same man and it's not the same river.
Bam. Write that one down.
Oh, I stole that. I'm not that smart to figure that out.
We got that one somewhere else. But
exactly.
So that's something that I do believe very firmly in, is finding the gratitude and aligning with your truth, which is a difficult thing to do, especially for veterans and especially for what, we had to go through, whether we were in war or not. You still sign the dotted line saying that you're willing to give your life for the country. And every day that you're in the military, you believe you're going to die the next day, and it's quite simply just one of those things that you start to get programmed. Okay, this could be my last day, but we're going to live it out, right? That's why we all party. And
tonight we drink, tomorrow we die.
That's right. Exactly. You know better than anybody. So, that mentality, that sacrifice, that selflessness, you have to also come to terms with it and be grateful for that opportunity that you did have. And when you went through it, you also have to be grateful for the things that happened. And I say now that when I had suffered the TBI at the time, and it killed all of my program and all of the dreams that I had, because I started not being able to get things done like I was supposed to. And as you know more than anyone, in order to become a pilot, especially a jet pilot, you have to be on your A game. They're constantly giving you flight physicals. They're constantly putting you through exams. And I was just not the same me.
They're trying to weed you out.
Right. Yeah, exactly. They want to fail you. And basically that's the whole game of the game. So it was like, between the one flight physical and then the next one, I had a lot of changes, and they were like, "What's going on?" I was like, "Nothing."
Yeah, exactly.
That's all wrong.
I'm as right as the mail.
This is not the report you're looking at. Exactly. Use the Jedi mind trick, right? So anyway, it was probably the worst thing that ever happened to me at the time. Now it turns out, had I never gone through that, I'd have never found yoga. I would have never ended up where I am today, sitting here in front of you. So to me, it's probably the best thing that ever happened to me. It's just that I didn't understand then what I understand now. So when your perspective has changed as much as mine has, now I understand why it had to happen.
Correct.
And it's one of those things that if you can look back on your life and realize those moments in time where you thought this situation was just terrible. It's like the story of the Chinese farmer. Are you a fan of Alan Watts?
Maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And that's my whole thing.
Love that story.
Maybe. And so
that's great. That's awful. That's great.
Exactly. Maybe. We'll see. Let's see how it rolls out.
Yeah.
So then from there, I left the military and I got into real estate, and I've been a real estate agent for 20 some odd years. And that's been great, done it part-time on and off, because I really am kind of one of those people who believes in time is the major currency that we need, not money. And so once I made enough money, I was like, for 6 months or a year of freedom, I would take that time to go and do my thing. Coming up on 30 years old, I started to have neck issues, which never dawned on me. The head stuff I was already seeing people for. The VA was medicating me with their solution to the problem, which was, give me more drugs, give me more drugs, give me more drugs.
What's wrong? Here's a prescription.
100%.
Not what's wrong.
Exactly. And that's exactly what we're going to fix, because they have the best intentions. It's just they don't have the best information.
Amen.
And that's really where it's at. Yeah. So I'm being treated by them going through the process, because I waited so long after getting out of the service to file anything to be service connected.
Oh yeah.
They of course denied me.
It's a court case, man.
And I was
Get ready.
So in 2008, I filed for my benefits. In 2017 or 18, 10 years later, this is what happens with the vets out there. They finally sent me in front of a federal judge to sit down face to face, have a recorded conversation, go over my story, because they had denied me so many times. And I'm like, it says it in the medical report, like it's written right here. Can I show you? You know, and I mean, 10 years, like, you know how much I suffered in those 10 years? I'm with pain, agony, but also financial stress because I couldn't. Yep. So it was.
Yeah, you have to get, when I was fighting the VA, I had to get a VA attorney. Like, wait a minute, I got to come out of pocket to fight for benefits that I'm owed. And we wonder, we don't, you and I don't, mom and pop Americans wonder, why do 22 veterans take their own lives every day? Well, maybe because one day they go from being on the top of the world with the ultimate trust of this nation. I went from having a top secret SCI clearance, pointing off an aircraft carrier to the next day, I'm a liar.
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, imagine going from that to that.
Exactly.
And it's like a court case. Well, prove all of them.
Right.
So you don't trust me now.
Yep.
You've trusted me for 15 years.
With $1 billion aircraft.
I almost shot down an Iranian helicopter one day and started World War III, but I didn't. But now you don't trust me.
Right. And I can totally identify, even to this day. Yesterday, I was on the phone with the VA. And the state of Florida, I was in a car accident about 8 or 9 months ago, and I suffered a second TBI. And it put me through a lot of stuff. One of the things that happened was I had some sort of episode where I had to go to the hospital that looked a lot like a stroke. And I got rolled in. It was very serious. They put me on, did seizure test, stroke test, all that. While I was going through it, I don't have any recollection of this. Everything came back negative. There was no seizure, no stroke. So they're like, well, whatever it was, we don't really know, or it was gone and they couldn't figure it out fast enough. But they put me on a seizure medication while I was in the hospital just in case. Okay, great, fine, whatever, But when I left the hospital, they still gave me the medical reports that said, no, everything's fine. They said, yeah, your neck is really jacked up, which will bring us back to that story. So anyway, the state of Florida sends me a letter and says, your license is now suspended for 6 months because you had a seizure.
Wait, it says I didn't.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And they literally said to me this.
Oh my God.
I mean, I can't even make this up, but they said to me, when I was talking to someone at the VA and I was trying to tell them, well, look, if you look back on the medical records, it shows that I was being tested during the episode and it was not a seizure. And there's like 3 different tests, right? And so they go, well, it says here that you were having seizure-like symptoms. I go, those are my words. that's not,
exactly.
So that's how,
wow.
Then they say I need to be cleared by my neurologist, which was absolutely a nightmare trying to get a neurologist to sign off on this thing to get my license back. Mm-hmm. But I still had to wait the 6 months, even though, and in the 6-month period, they revoked my license. And I'm going,
oh my God.
Now I'm trapped. I have no way to drive a vehicle and I've done nothing wrong and there's no seizure. There's no record of a seizure. And the VA would not
help. The hospital's talking to the state of Florida? How'd those two systems talk, man?
Apparently they communicate, and anybody who comes through, I believe it was the Veterans Administration doctor that I went to because she refused to sign off on the paperwork until the 6-month point. And when I went on the 6-month point, she didn't show up to work that day. And you know how long it is to wait. And it's kind of an important thing, right? To get my license. Yeah. So I left the paperwork with her. And she filled it out all wrong and then didn't sign it. And I was like, so I went to the patient advocate, had to get the patient advocate involved. That got the head of neurology involved at the Orlando Medical Center. And basically they ended up getting him to release me. I had a neurosurgeon, a neurologist, and my GP all write letters or all fill out their form. Mm-hmm. But then they gave me back my license and I was like, hey, all right, I'm good. So I just came back from around the world trip, which we'll obviously get to here shortly. Mm-hmm. But as I went around the world, I get back, I check my mail and there's a stack of mail from 3 weeks of being away. And there's a letter from the Department of Highway and Motor Vehicles for the state of Florida. And it says, they need now for me to send fill out the form and have the sleep clinic.
Oh, geez. And
my psychiatrist also clear me. And I'm like, first of all, I've never had a seizure. God, Second of all, what do they have to do with anything?
Yeah. Can we start with this never happened.
Right. Exactly.
Oh my
I don't
God.
know if that's even an option. I think that's not even on the table.
No, that does not compute.
And so I contact the VA's sleep department and they're like, well, he hasn't been using a sleep apnea machine and we're monitoring it. And so we can't, and I go, first of all, you're monitoring my sleep schedule and I have PTSD and I have issues. I'm a victim of domestic violence recently. And so the idea of someone monitoring anything in my home is not okay.
Triggering.
It's not okay. It's triggering. So I said, I'm not using this machine. I took it away from my house, put it out. I'm like, I'm not, give me one that doesn't have a tracking system or else.
I put it on a bear.
But now they're threatening. Yeah, exactly. It's somewhere in Colorado running up in the mountains, man. Hey, track that.
It's eating picnic baskets in Yosemite, man.
And so my nurse, God bless his heart, man, he's the nicest guy in the world and he really cares about veterans. But this psychiatrist said, I won't sign off on the paperwork until a neurologist clears him.
Jesus.
Wants me to have another neurologist appointment. And I go, I've already been cleared by neurology. I've already been cleared by 2 neurologists and a neurosurgeon and a general practitioner. I don't know what the neurologist has to do with the psychiatrist, but the psychiatrist told me it'll take probably 6 months. Jesus. And she'd write a letter to the state of Florida asking him to extend it. I go, are you kidding me? Like this, you guys are literally causing me the most stress and the most struggle in my life. And you're supposed to be on my side.
Correct.
And so it's like, this system is broken. And so I contact the patient advocate today and hopefully we can get something moving because
I can't even, this type of stuff incentivizes people to not say anything.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Just like in the aviation side of the house, flight surgeon. You can come talk to me about anything. Let me know. No, we're not going to talk to you about
we'll be right
anything. Yeah. So unbelievable, man.
Absolutely. Can we still get back to the fact that I never had a seizure?
Jesus God.
So, and also never took seizure medication afterwards. There was never a prescription given to me. So I'm like,
that's the government in action, bro.
And it's terrible because they called me yesterday to schedule a mental health appointment. And I said to them, honestly, right now, I don't feel like I trust the VA enough to come in and talk to anybody.
Yeah. You guys are the enemy at this point. Right now,
man. I'm fighting you.
Yeah. Whose side are you
and I fought them for 10 years to get my disability, which they approved, by the way, to finish that story. So after I went in front of the federal judge and when they listened to the actual evidence, they proved my disability and put me at.
Took you 10 years?
10 years.
Did they back pay you and everything?
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Absolutely. Yeah, they back paid me, but they put me at 50%, which was like, come on, guys. This is okay. The neck issue thing is where I went into. So basically, when I was having the neck problems at about 30 years old, I was in Jacksonville, Florida, and I was getting injections into my neck to basically just be able to move my head because I was having so much pain and I couldn't move. I was stuck. And I don't know how you're supposed to live like that. And I have the utmost empathy for people. And
some people don't, bro. That's the issue.
That's the problem. And the other ones get on medication, which I'm not into, So I had to go see a neurologist or a neurosurgeon, and he was the best in Jacksonville.
Do you have like a Subway sub card for neurologists? Like every time you go?
I do think that I hold the world record for most MRIs of any human being on the planet because I had like 9 in 3 days. And I'm like,
you're like glowing, man. You look like Dr. Doom or something.
Maybe that's how I got my energy aligned, was all the MRIs and stuff. I had CT scans. Geez, man, I can't tell you. I'm talking to this amazing neurologist at the top of the penthouse room or office of this beautiful building overlooking Jacksonville. And the guy comes out and says, listen, you need to have neck surgery. And we want to put these 2 rubber discs, and he shows them to me with the metal ball bearing in there. And he wants to put them through my throat into my head or my neck and hold my head up. And I looked at him and I go, what's the other option? I'm going to go with it already.
Can I get a second opinion?
So he goes, well, if you can, establish really good core strength and spinal mobility, you could probably buy yourself 5 years, and who knows what technology will change. You're going to deal with pain, but you're already dealing with pain. So, it's like, even if I had the surgery, they couldn't guarantee I'd be out of pain.
Exactly.
So now I just have a different pain.
Let me give you the whole briefing sheet of what could go wrong when we put something like this in your neck and with surgery.
I've never met anyone who said, I'm glad I had neck surgery.
Or back surgery.
Or brain surgery.
Yeah.
Which I'll get to those too.
Oh my God, man.
So,
dude, you're like fucking the bionic man.
Oh, I the people, I think my one of my best qualities is I believe that, an object in motion stays in motion until met with an object of equal or more powerful force to be stopped. I don't think I can be stopped because I have enough power and enough force, and I just keep going. Isn't
that a good thing? I mean, it's a good thing and a bad thing, but we're sharks, man. If we stop swimming,
we're done.
We're done,
yep, exactly.
Right? And so, you know, most people would check out or
sit around and overthink which direction to go in. Whereas we're just like, let's go. And when we go forward, if it's the wrong direction, we'll just move a little bit and redirect, but we just got to keep moving.
Correct.
And that's you're right, man. Like sharks, we have to keep moving. So, so I went back home and I Googled spinal mobility, core strength, and it came up with yoga. And at this same point in time is when I went to see a psychiatrist.
Give me time frames. How long ago was this?
This is at 30, somewhere between 30 and 32 years old. So in that time period, I had gotten to a point where.
And you're supposed to be peaking, man. I mean, this is,
the best I'm
ramping up. Yeah. 30s.
That's what I thought. And I went to the beach and I wouldn't take my shirt off because I looked horrible. Yeah. And I had a horrible diet, drank alcohol, smoked cigarettes, did whatever I did. So they had me on 11 pills a day in the VA. 11 pills. And I'm talking lithium, Depakote, lithium. I'm giving them
that's a nuke. It's a global thermonuclear weapon.
And
lithium.
And combine that with Adderall and Ambien and Lexapro and Depakote.
Oh my God,
and it was just so many that they didn't even know what they were dealing with anymore. And so I went to see a psychiatrist at the VA, and the guy says to me when we're sitting there, and this is exactly along the same times as the neurology said, go look into spinal flexibility and that kind of thing. So I walk in the VA and the guy says to me when I sit down, he goes, so listen, you're what we would consider a hopeless case.
Get the fuck out of here.
I shit you not, brother. This is fucking, he literally said, I go, hope this is a metaphor for something. You're going to make it sound really brilliant by the end of this conversation.
Yeah, where's the punchline?
There's got to be something coming, right? You know, it's going to be
God.
He goes, no, honestly, somebody who has psychological issues and physical pain is really hard to work with because we can't figure out how to diagnose you. And I don't know if he was trying to be inspiring or trying to get me to understand something, but
tough love.
Basically, he was the greatest thing that ever happened to me because I looked at him and I go, listen, I'm not taking any more of your meds based on the conversation we just had. Wow. He goes, you can't get off 11 different medications like that immediately and go cold turkey. And I go, watch this. Yeah. So I went home. I quit taking all those medications. Took me about 6-8 months to get myself kind of back on track and healthy.
How was the coming down, the withdrawal? Was it?
You know, it was a lot of sleeping and a lot of moving from room to room and passing out, basically, because I was, narcoleptic from never getting any rest for the last 10 years.
Yeah, your system was in total fight or flight.
Nervous system was just a mess. Every system was out of shape. So it was a complete disaster. But you know what? I knew I was strong enough to do it, and I quit it all. Smoked cigarettes, smoked alcohol, everything. I mean, everything I did stopped. And I just laid in bed, watched TV, took care of my 4-year-old at the time. And so I had that responsibility, but that was the only responsibility.
That'll keep you going.
That was awesome though. He was an angel, a healing angel, because he'd sleep on my chest and lay with me. So we'd watch a lot of cartoons and things like that. But you
know who during that time was the victor? Big Pharma, man.
Yep.
Isn't this an ad for Big Pharma? There's a revolving door between the VA and Big Pharma. I told you, man, Marcus Luttrell was on 15. He's like, Whiz, I have 5 to wake up, 5 for lunch, 5 to go to bed. He hasn't taken a single medication since he sat with the medicine.
Well, they're not medications.
Yeah, drugs.
They're masks.
Exactly.
Right? They're drugs.
Yeah. Ain't no medicine.
There's nothing. No one's curing anything.
No, there's no money in healing.
Nope, exactly. And that's why they don't want to heal people. But also, that's like I said, the VA has good intentions. They just don't have good information.
They don't know how to execute their good intentions with anything other than pharma.
That's right. 100%.
Not yoga,
100%.
Not breath work, not the medicines,
nope.
Not HBOT, they're starting to dabble, but man, the dabbling at 22 a day is you're a little late.
Arguably more. I mean, there's a lot of numbers that
I use the double
44,
number, but
44,
yeah.
But I mean, that's a number that's hard to even like.
I don't even like it.
It makes me uncomfortable. So anyway, that doctor, I guess karma maybe got him because they went back into the VA a few weeks later and had an appointment with a different doctor, clearly. Mm-hmm. But I had all these new security measures at the VA when I went in St. Augustine. Well, allegedly, I asked someone, I said, hey, what's up with all the locks and guards and everything else? And they were like, well, a vet came in last week and met with their doctor and pulled out a can of lighter fluid and lit him on fire. And
Jesus
I was like,
Christ.
what is the doctor's name? And it was the same doctor. So apparently,
the guy who said you're hopeless.
Yeah, apparently someone else didn't take his advice as well as I did because he allegedly had.
How many guys and gals did he say that to who aren't here?
Exactly.
Oh my God.
And I mean, to tell someone that you're hopeless, like I was like, this guy better have something else behind this. That's gonna, like, I mean, I wish I'd have recorded it because it would have been amazing to. So
that's malpractice, man.
I recorded the conversation yesterday with my nurse who's telling me the psychiatrist has to get a neurologist to reevaluate me, even though the state of Florida has already cleared me through neurology. And I've got it recorded because with a TBI, I have cognitive and memory issues. So I have to record things so I have a record of it. So it's not like it's illegal like it is for anyone else.
Yeah,
It's legal for me.
This is a medical requirement.
This is my brain that I have to use.
Correct.
So I'm recording the conversation. I'm going, please, one more time, tell me why a psychiatrist needs a neurologist to tell her it's okay to sign off on something.
Yeah.
Because they're asking for her opinion based on my psychiatric state of mind. Not what the neurologist said. That's done.
Not the gray. Yeah.
Plus, I never had the seizure. Can we get back to that? So it's like, here I am still fighting for my license. And, hopefully we can bring some awareness to how bad this stuff is because, man, you cannot.
Well, you're the guy. If anybody's going to shine a light on any of it, it's you, right?
And I hope so.
Usually during those dark moments, and I ask God, I'm like, why me, man? And the answer is like, yeah.
Because it had to be you.
Because it is you.
Exactly.
Enjoy. Now get going.
Exactly. Yeah. Now shut up and go.
Get up and move. Stop asking me why and just do.
Sort of like a CO in the military.
Yeah.
Stop asking why. Just do it.
Just do it. Yeah.
Yep. So that happened. And so I found yoga and I got into yoga. Well, when I Googled it or Googled those two terms, that's what came up. So I said, you know what? I'll start doing yoga. Like you said, at first I was like, man, if I saw myself in a pair of pants, no way, dude. I would kick my own ass. I'm not going in there. And it was nerve-wracking, man. It was hard, right? Like the first time you went, it's like, I'm going to walk in here. There's going to be 60 hot chicks that are all in tight clothes. And they know what they're doing. And they're going to see how unflexible I am. And it's going to be embarrassing.
Yeah. I'm an old fat guy. And
exactly. And, and that's why I laugh.
I want to hide in the corner.
Everyone wants to see yoga, but they don't want to attend yoga classes. And I'm like, it was easier when I was training martial arts to get guys to try that, where you could potentially get punched in the face, than it is to get guys to go to yoga. And it's so difficult. And guys are always like, well, how can I watch it without being a part of it? And now I have the solution. I actually have the solution. I have the solution.
Lay it on me.
Well, you know that I have upcoming a pretty good opportunity.
You do.
And that opportunity is to bring yoga to national televised TV. Mm-hmm. And you're welcome.
How? Tell us. All right,
I'll get to that. Let me get through the rest of this nonsense VA stuff. So then I get into yoga. I basically said to myself, I'm committing to this for 90 days and I'll see what happens. If I feel better and I like it.
What is it? 21 days is a habit or something like that. So at least days, you got to give yourself, so good for you, 90 days.
21 days. I was like, nope, I'm one of those people who's an overachiever. I'm doing 90.
Yeah.
And so I did. I committed to it, went to a hot yoga, like you said.
Where are you living? Where was this?
I was in Volusia County, Daytona.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
And that's where I grew up. So that's where I'm from. And so I started going to yoga every single day. And what happened was within 2 weeks, I was going twice a day. And then I was all of a sudden going to every class I could possibly get my hands on.
Wow.
And by this point, I'd also started looking into getting back to being attached to the earth, grounding, what to eat. What do we eat as primal creatures? Yeah. Plant medicine, that kind of stuff, and started dabbling and working with the things that you talked about, psilocybin, that kind of thing, which is absolutely needs to be legal for everyone, but also should definitely be legal for veterans. And in the state of Florida right now, we are so confused as vets because it's legal to have a medical marijuana card. But if you have one, you go to the VA, they will consider you a drug user.
Correct.
And now you're not able to get other prescription drugs that you may need. And so it's like, hey, we're not going to give you this drug that you definitely need because you use drugs, even though you have a license to carry it and an identification card. And it's like, do you understand what this is like for us? Like, we're already trying our best to deal with the stuff that we've dealt with.
We're trying anything we can to stay here.
Exactly.
And you're going to take away some of it.
And I know that I'm one of those people who will never let anyone beat me. I'm the only one who can beat me. So I am going to continue because as long as I continue, I win. Yeah. And so they won't stop me. Yeah. But also I know that there's a lot of vets out there.
Marcus would say, you're never out of the fight.
Exactly. And that's where it's one of those things that some people just don't have that. They're not built that way. Yeah. And so that's where we're losing all these guys because, man, if you can't get help from the only organization available to help you, then you were in a bad
It
situation.
says it on the fucking building, man. Well, it's interesting because under Joe Biden, they took the saying off the VA headquarters, and Trump put it back on, to care for those that have borne the scars and the widows and orphans or whatever. And I'm like, it's your mission statement, man.
Right. Whose team are you on?
Exactly.
This is crazy. So, and there's so many vets out there that I know who have suffered major issues, but they just couldn't win the fight against the VA. So they're not service connected. They get no benefits. No one takes care of them. And it's just because the system is so difficult.
You're looking at not service connected, man. As an Ellis, my tinnitus sitting here right now for the rest of my life. I can't hear.
After we just had that podcast and you told me all the different things that happened to a pilot, I have a whole new appreciation for what you guys go through, because I never really thought about all of the different things that we talked about on the podcast, which we'll definitely be posting today. So everyone will get to hear that, because I think
good. That was a good one.
Amazing story, an amazing conversation. And so,
all right. So yoga, some plant medicine, you started feeling better. How'd that go?
Yep. So it changed everything about my diet, started reading, learning about things that, that had to do with how to get back to being a human being at a primal level, because I realized that the system that was getting me off on this other tangent. I had every diagnosis in the world: TBI, PTSD, OCD, ADHD, like anything that I was like, it felt like
alphabet soup.
Like they were assigning me labels to describe. And
throwing darts at
I'm like, do you even know what's wrong with me anymore? Or are we just guessing? And these are side effects of all the medicine you got me on.
Spin the wheel of
exactly. I'm like, have you guys run out of acronyms yet? Because I got some ideas. But anyway, so the yoga came into play, also the healthy living, started eating right, plant medicine, et cetera, et cetera. And before I knew it, I'd spent 8, 9, 10 months, maybe even a year practicing every single day. Not only that, learning about yoga as a lifestyle and the way of life, the 8-limb path of yoga, which encompasses every aspect of life from the beginning, which is all your discipline and all that kind of stuff, to harming no one else. Yeah. And there's a lifestyle, there's a breathing exercise part of it. It's not just physical stretching. That's just what America kind of.
It took me a while to learn that in yoga, man, to be honest with you. The whole linking breath work with movement. I'm like, that the teachers just say that it's a whatever.
Exactly.
Until I started to do it. I'm like, I got it.
Yeah.
Supposed to link my breath to what I'm doing. I was muscling it before.
You were fighting yourself.
I was beating my own ass.
Exactly.
And I was ending up on my back.
Exactly. That's why at 25 minutes, you were like, please help me, God.
Yeah.
Because I've been there.
Take me now.
But once you figure out how to engage your mula bandha, your core,
correct,
and breathe pranayama, which is the right breath, now the poses aren't so difficult, because now they feel natural. And it's working.
As opposed to forced.
Exactly. So now you're flowing.
It's a flow state.
Yoga play.
Hence the name.
Instead of fighting. Which is like the whole, we can strong this, I can do this.
Yeah. Which it's called a flow state, not a fight state.
Exactly.
The best yoga, not that you should judge your yoga, but I will. The best months of yoga are when I get back from a medicine retreat.
Yep.
I lit my first ibogaine journey when I came home. It was a good 30 to 60, maybe even 90 days of I'll use the word orgasmic yoga. It was just an incredible flow state.
Aligned.
Yeah, I was aligned. Everything was hitting. And the further I get out, I get back to the fighting, and I'm like, okay, you suck at this shit. Wait, don't judge. And then I get into my spiral. But the ability to recognize that I can step outside of me and look at me yelling at me. The third me is like, dude, come on. Like, take it easy on yourself.
Yeah.
A little bit of graciousness, a little bit of, be easier on yourself as opposed to beating yourself up.
I certainly think it's important to have compassion for yourself and forgiveness for yourself.
Amen.
Before everyone else, because until you truly have compassion and forgiveness for yourself, you can't have compassion and forgiveness.
So funny, man. Being raised a Catholic, everything's a sin, right? You miss church on Sunday, you're going to burn in hell forever. I'm like, I'm 5 and you're telling me that.
It's a little early to be pitching
death and
damnation.
I was always I was taught that was selfish, right? Thinking of yourself in any way or having compassion or, whatever for yourself until, man, I actually realized that. Being able to reflect and go, dude, you're doing the best you can. I never was like that. I'm like, you suck, man.
Right.
And there was a lot of others you sucks external to me, beating me down. I'm like, well, they're right.
Right. And that's exactly right.
It changed my life to be able to find a little bit of self-compassion or to give myself a break.
And once you do that, it brings you in alignment. And once you're in alignment, you become unaware of all that stuff. And
Let it roll off your back.
Yeah. No matter what happens, I'm like,
it's all good.
You know what? It's okay. Maybe, right? Maybe.
You know, it's funny, man. My biggest lesson learned, I mean, my 12 to 14 hour Ibogaine, there's so much in that. The overwhelming feeling that I wrote in my journal the next day as the sun came up was everything's fine. It's okay.
Yep. Exactly.
I have even when things are horrific or things are great, it's okay.
That's right.
Susie got home 3 months later and she used it's fine. Because our kids and I now make fun of her because she would use that in anything. Mom, the house is on fire. It's fine. We just won the lottery. It's fine. That's Susie's tag word. But after she got done with the medicine, she's like, everything's fine. We're like, oh my God, you're right.
She spoke it into manifestation.
She did. She's like,
manifested that.
You get this overwhelming feeling that everything's okay.
Mm-hmm. And now you're seeing what I call unfuckwittable.
Yeah.
Because no one can really affect you because now you're at peace with who you are.
Correct.
And so everyone else's opinion and all their words and all their stuff, it doesn't matter to you anymore because
Correct.
you just live in this nice state of, I know who I am. I'm confident in who I am and I know what I'm supposed to do and I'm in alignment. And that's where you get to. But like you said, you go to that point and that's your soul taking over, not your mind.
Dude, 52 years on this planet, curled up on a bed in Mexico, looking at the brightest, whitest light, full of love, energy, infinity, and getting the message that thing, whatever word you choose to use, I choose the words God said, I don't make imperfect things.
That's right. And you were made in my image.
You are made. You got a speck of me in you, my son, and everybody does.
Exactly.
I love the person you hate on this planet the most. The same as I love you.
That's exactly right.
And that was life-changing to me. Not that I'm fucking perfect, clearly. This shell can use a lot of work, but inside every one of us is absolute perfection.
Yep.
You can't, just because you forget it, doesn't mean it flew away.
Exactly.
That separation from source, God, creator, truth, divine, whatever word, that's sin to me. Right. Separation is sin.
And the further away.
Ego, edge God out. That's exactly what the word ego means. So when you can dissolve that ego, man, and get back to source.
And when you're in alignment, you really are in alignment with God and with the planet and with everything around it. And you understand that we are cosmic dust that is magic. We're literally energy and motion made from the same materials that every star you see in the skies and everything on this earth is made from. Yeah. So it's like, and you realize we're all connected when you do DMT. Because as you said in your experience and as I experienced in mine, we had the same experience, which is being in a space and place where everything you could feel that surrounds the word love was surrounding me. Mm-hmm. And I was being drawn towards a light that was not pulling me, but I was just being there.
Held.
And it was just absolutely incredible. And like you told your story, when I did my journey, I came back into my body, and I don't know if about you, but I saw everything as math equations on the way out and on the way back in. So you see all the geometry,
the sacred geometry,
exactly,
the fractals,
and you realize that walls aren't real,
and
then you realize that everything's just fake, and you're like, so it's just manifestation of our
projection.
And same thing as you, I had this overwhelming peace. And then it took me a while to digest it all and kind of figure out a pattern for how to fix more things.
It's such a radical, after 5 decades of not knowing any of that, seeing behind the curtain, so to speak, it's a radical, it's a shock to your system.
It certainly
isn't
is.
it?
Certainly is. I mean, it was such a shock that like it took probably 2 or 3 weeks of meditation and just simply being alone for me to process everything and understand what happened.
Correct.
You know, because you can't make sense of, it's too big of a
thing. You need help. Let's drop anchor here, man, because do not do any of this medicine work. You can do it solo. People have done it solo for millennia. What I'm getting at is if you do something like this and you don't have help talking to somebody or integrating, you can get in a little bit of a dogfight, man. This is why a lot of regular listeners have heard me use the word. You got to put in the work when you get home.
That's right.
You're gonna have a lot of work to do. You got homework, and if you just kind of did this on your own, or you're not talking to somebody, it's gonna be a challenge to integrate. Go the wrong
direction real quickly.
That's exactly, because people ask. Whiz, 75-ish people you've helped. You said nobody's got home and said waste of time or I'm worse. Now, let me caveat that with we have had people get home and not do the work, and they get into a tough dogfight. Thankfully, all of them have. Nobody's gotten into that dogfight and gotten worse or gotten bad, but there's been challenges when people get home.
Absolutely.
You come home to the same things that made you sick. You're going to have a clean piece of paper. If you kind of crumble that thing up and throw it, now we're going to.
Exactly. We've got a bigger issue on our hands.
Correct.
Now you don't believe that it actually works. So you're not willing to go do it again, even though you didn't put on the work, which is why we now have our own iboga place that we're going to put together.
That's great.
That's going to be amazing.
So let's talk. So stick with us with the yoga because you got some good stuff going on. And then we're going to talk.
So yoga every day. I became a teacher. And then I started teaching yoga, which I didn't want to do. I just got sort of left in a room with all these students. And the teacher at the time said, hey, guess what? You're teaching yoga today. And I was like, I don't know anything about teaching yoga. She goes, do you practice every day? I go, yeah. Have you been doing this for a long time? Yeah. Do you think you could lead a yoga class? And I go, yeah. She goes, teach. She goes, I go, I'm not certified. She goes, there's no yoga police.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I talked to 26 people. And let me tell you, brother, I called chaturanga at least 250 times in that class because it was all I could remember.
When in doubt, chaturanga.
Exactly.
It's a filler.
And so that was my first experience teaching yoga. And I told her I didn't want to teach. I just wanted to keep this because it was so personal and it was changing my life. And I was like, I don't want to do anything to disrupt this. And she looked at me and goes, what if everyone felt that way? And I went,
great point.
All right, I'll teach. Next thing I know, I'm teaching every day.
Good for her.
I've got multiple classes. My classes are filling up and sold out. And so I move into a bigger city and I take this journey and keep going. Next thing I know, I'm teaching in LA, New York, Miami, across the nation.
Wow.
And then the next thing I know, I'm being invited overseas to Singapore, Greece, all these other countries. Well, that was great because I had topped out on information that I could find in Florida and even around the United States for what I could learn. And I wanted to learn from shaman, healers, all these different
people. Go to the
yogis.
source.
I wanted to go to these countries and find answers.
I want to go to the Top Gun of yoga.
Exactly. Give me that guy. Give me the shaman that does this. Give me that,
I'm going to the flowing robes.
And also it was all directed by some source or some feeling that was happening inside me that gave me a vision of being able to take what I'm learning and give it back to veterans. And I knew that I understood the psychology of what goes on because I went through it. But also while I was going through it, I dissected it, broke it down, wrote it down.
Good for you.
And put together an entire process of what I was going through.
And you walked into that yoga door as kind of a hurting unit.
Absolutely.
So instead of walking in as, a girl from Delray Beach, you walked in as, hey man, I'm a little busted up and
I was so busted
I
up.
need some help.
But I actually had a cast on my wrist at the time. So I was literally in there.
One armed.
And it was a fun journey that time. And I started teaching, got to go around the world. Fortunately, I've been blessed with the opportunity to go to many, many countries. I've lost track of how many I've taught in. I think it's somewhere around 40, but I'm definitely
40 countries.
Yeah, I've been all over. And I did I've gone 2 times around the globe. First time was 3 months, and I taught all the way around as we went and kind of.
Your call sign's Pitbull, Mr. Worldwide.
Mr. Worldwide, Mr. 305.
Exactly. Wow.
Yeah, so it's been crazy between that and then the military being over in Okinawa. Clearly, you can just hop to Korea and all those places real easily. So, I've got a very long list of countries that I've visited, but also I've been all over the United States. So I've really explored. I've never really stayed anywhere for longer than 2 years. And so I've always kind of been on the move. But as I was going through this process, I was thinking the whole time, how can I help my other veterans? Because of course, along the way, I'm losing people left and right. Every time you turn around, another vet. And whether it was from suicide or from them dying from the medications that they're taking or the combo of stuff, or just, they have cancer because they can't get the treatment because they got Agent Orange. There was just so many things. And I was like, this can't keep going on. But my vision was I had a solution, but I needed to find enough people and be ready to implement that solution. And so I was like, okay, well, I got this vision, I've got this idea, and I think it's all encompassing. And I've got the framework of what it takes because I've obviously been down this journey.
Been there, done that.
So it was like, all right, God, I'm ready to go. Let's do this. And he's like, nope, You're not. You still got things to take care of. And so it's like, you still got some lessons to learn. Okay, got it. All right, God. That's my God voice, by the way.
Buckle up.
But I talk to God like he's my homie because that's what I believe he is.
He is.
And so like
he meets every one of us where we are.
Exactly right. And he knows the timeline that things are supposed to happen on. We do not. Correct. So it's like what frustration is when we refuse to accept things as they are.
Allow.
Just accept.
Trust.
Just learn to accept. You don't have to understand. Just accept that it's going to happen the way it is. And I call the clothing line that I built and I haven't launched it yet, but now it's going to be a part of Este Yoga. Siempre algo, which is Spanish for it's always something.
Yeah.
Because life is nothing more than a series of somethings.
Yes.
And some of them are fun. Some of them are educational. That's how I look at it.
But everything's
it's all by,
okay.
It's okay. You're fine.
Fine.
It's fine. I'm now going to hear your wife's voice saying that.
Exactly.
We should have a show.
Fine. It's
fine.
Always fine.
But look, she manifested it's fine.
She did.
So, I mean, that's power. And women have a lot of power with their intuition and their manifestation.
Portals between the worlds, man.
Yep, absolutely. So
they are the most sacred things on this planet.
I learned a lot from traveling and overseas, got to experience a lot of different plant medicines, like you said. And so, got the DMT, the ayahuasca, all the different stuff, peyote.
Not that I want to rank, but I don't want to use the word favorite. How about powerful? What was the most healing or powerful for you personally? Because I always get the buffet questions of me. I'm like, I'm an ibogaine guy, man. Yeah. I've tried a bunch, but mine's ibogaine. What's yours?
For me, I think psilocybin is the major player because of the fact that you can do a high dosage and then microdose. And the microdosing, the amount of positive thinking and the amount of recognizing that there's a beautiful world around you and that you're in touch with it, that is a powerful tool because it's almost impossible to be sad and depressed and disappointed when you have psilocybin going through. But it's about the dosage. It's about a lot of other things. You have to have a meditation practice, I believe. Yeah. So, but answer
it's not a magic pill. It's not a...
The most transformative was DMT by far. And DMT was the one that showed me that I had nothing to be afraid of. Like you said, there's nothing to worry about. Everything's fine. After we die, we're united with everybody that we love.
Once, my DMT, it was a Millennium Falcon, man. I went from 0 to infinity to hyperspace in the blink of an eye, but it was peace.
Yes.
It was absolute. There was no time. It was only that instant because it answered that. I had questions for decades about my sister, Monica. I'm like, is she bored? Is she sitting in heaven going,
right? Yeah, that's right.
Where's everybody?
Yeah, what's going on?
And it answered my question.
There's no time.
She's in a perfect state of grace.
Well, and
I experienced it.
That was such a beautiful story that's so much aligned with what I have had happen with my story. And as I was sitting there listening to you, I was like, this is just confirmation. But even more than that, it was like,
how incredible is it that people, it's so funny, like on the ibogaine, people are like, oh my God, I sold everything. It was a complete tour, it was a tour for this. And then it was all me. I'm like, everybody has it's obviously different for each person's story, but the same strategic level experience. Now the tactics are all different.
Right.
Maybe there's something.
Maybe we all got together and planned that out.
We're all liars.
Exactly.
This is a ruse.
Ask the VA, that's going to be the answer.
No shit.
We're liars.
Well, I'll give it out a shout out to Secretary Collins because he's
doing some good stuff.
He's getting there, man. And I admitted, as soon as Trump named him, I'm like, great. First of all, he's an Air Force guy, but he's a colonel and he's a chaplain. I'm like, oh man, he's on the God Squad. Right. And a lot of the people that attack me are God squatters.
Exactly.
Get back to church and you're practicing idolatry. I'm like, what?
Wait a second. Hold on. Yeah, no, I believe in God too, yo. And that's also something I get with yoga is the pushback on yoga being anti-Semitic. And I'm like, wait a second.
Really?
How is yoga? It's not a religion. There's no deity. There's no one to worship.
Correct.
They say the chanting. And say, well, just because you don't speak the language doesn't mean that it's evil. It's literally love, peace, happiness.
I send these people love, man.
I do too.
I get it, but
it is what it is. People are only capable of understanding to the perspective that they have. So their level of understanding is limited by what they have experienced.
Yeah.
So you can't teach somebody something about something. You can't tell me what it feels like to be in a cockpit going Mach 4.
Correct.
And give me make me feel the same feeling, and it's like, that's just never something you can communicate. So why am I going to spend my time doing it?
Exactly.
If you can't even understand it ever.
I think that's a great skill to have for like a guy like you and me after like a DMT experience old Whiz would try and force, you have to understand this. Let me lay this on you. Right. Now I'm like, there's no way in hell you're going to understand this.
Exactly.
I can't. I learned an SAT word when I got home from the first medicine journey, ineffable. Ooh. You can't put into word. It's the inability to put into words something that you experience. I'm like, aha, ineffable.
That's the big one.
I just throw that out there. I'm like, I can't.
Nope, it's not.
And I'm not going to even, I'll try.
Right.
But I physically in my vocabulary do not have the capability to
describe something such as this. And
correct.
So, unless you experience something.
So psilocybin was the power. DMT was the most transformative.
DMT unlocked the entire thing. Now,
that's a great way to put it.
Mind you, this is what I feel is a big part of that. And it kind of supports, no, it doesn't kind of, it does support exactly what you just said. I had a yoga practice and a meditation practice throughout this whole process. Mm-hmm. So when I was coming back from these experiences, I was coming back to yoga, meditation, on only a deeper level. So I wasn't plugging myself back into a bad scenario or situation where I was going to be affected to go back the other way. Yeah. I was actually continuing my journey. Yep. And then the psilocybin was a amazing thing because it really, I mean, I have a TBI or two now that I've got, a personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, bipolar 1. I suffer from a tremendous headache.
You got the DSM book.
It's exactly. Like, I mean, it's just crazy the numbers.
By Kris.
And I'm like, and I'm trying to look at myself every day in the mirror and go, you're fine. Yeah. Everything's fine. Like, just keep going.
Have you noticed since you did the medicine work, did any of that, the mental stuff, the PTSD or the whatever, did you notice differences in you?
I think 100%. I mean, I'll be honest, like you said, I wasn't the most likable guy going into my healing because, I was pretty abrasive. Yeah. I had a long history of violence because that was what I knew from childhood and from growing up. And I really wasn't. A
lot of that's not your fault, obviously, but you take that on.
It's still, you carry it with you. Plus the amount of people, that people don't understand that we talked about, or I talked about this with an interviewer the other day, or an interviewee, about how there's like survivor's guilt for vets, where once I got hurt, okay, well now someone has to take my place. And then if they die,
I'm not playing in the big game.
Like now they died.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, now that should have been me. And it's like, and there's people who have all these different stories and none of them are relevant. It's just an understanding we need to have that from the day people sign up for the military and they give away their life, that is when you have to start recognizing that these people are in a state of fight or flight 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the rest of the time they're in the service. Yeah. And when they get out, nobody turns it off.
Correct.
And so now they're carrying
good
that,
luck trying to figure anybody, out.
Yeah. Can't say anything. Don't ask for help. And we're all programmed that way.
Correct.
So you talk about a perfect recipe for a soldier, but a perfect recipe to destroy
suicide.
Human. Yep. And so there you go. How do we fix it? We get a reverse boot camp. We unprogram the programmed, and we take the soldier and turn him into a civilian. So we'll get there, I guess, now, or if it's okay. I guess we can transition
that's a great segue.
So in my logo, it's Vets to Yoga, which is my 501c3. And the idea was I had the vision of this like 10 years ago, and I was ready to bring this to people. I was ready to take this out and help people. I'd already been volunteering with all the nonprofits and trying to make a difference somewhere, at least while I was coming along.
I got to do something.
Yeah, just put me in, coach, put me in type thing. Well, in the logo, it's army green that fades through the two into the American flag.
I love it.
And so it already speaks that we're going to transition you out of the military back into civilian life. And the fundamental idea was, I got to bring all these nonprofits that are out there together underneath yoga as the name, because yoga is all encompassing lifestyle.
What do I tell you, bro? One team, one fight, man.
One team, one fight. I can't tell you how much that meant. I literally say those words 100 times a day. And I love it. This is, it's just so profound. It is. And it's so truth. And if we could all get together, and we can, and we are, but
we will
watch what's going to happen. Correct. I can promise you that we can cure this. We can fix this. Gone. So the Vets to Yoga name, the Vets to Yoga logo, everything about what has been visualized, has been manifested, and has come to fruition, and now is a thing. And it's come to a point where I've actually.
This comes back to like 30 minutes ago when God said, no.
Nope.
I got shit for you to do. And you're like, what?
And
now you know.
To add insult to injury, over the last 2 years, I was a victim of domestic violence. My caretaker actually destroyed my life, told everyone a bunch of lies about me. No one talks to me, including my children. And she stole all of my money, my house. Using the court system, she beat me to the ground, put me on the streets, and left me for dead. Come to find out now that she's done it to many couple other disabled vets.
She's facing justice?
I hope so soon. We've got our, I trust God and I trust that things are going to happen. But
Amen.
It's it was horrible what she did. But I have for the last 2 years been hiding, I guess, and running and living in fear. And so I have my hope card, as a victim of domestic violence, which as a 235-pound guy who's got some muscle, bald head, tattoos, I'm not afraid of much. But this chick was.
I get it.
So
there's different ways to inflict fear, man, or pain or trauma.
Exactly, and that trauma.
Fucking legal system will inflict. I'd rather get my ass kicked than endure some of the legal shit I've been in my life. Christ almighty.
Well, in the psychological games that you're playing with someone who's already got psychological issues, and it was putting me in a bad spot. And, so anyway, I don't want to feed energy to that anymore. So it's going to get taken care of.
We trust.
We hope, we believe, and we know. But my purpose is here, so I still did not trust God. And I started to realize that everyone pulling away from me and everyone leaving was leaving me all alone. And I spent all these 2 years, and it was literally like Veterans Day goes by, no one texts me. My birthday goes by, no one texts me. Christmas goes by, no one texts me. And, after a while, this really takes a toll on you, and you start to go, is there any reason for me to still be here? Because no one really cares. No one's talking to me. No one's doing anything. So what am I here for? What's the purpose? Well, I didn't realize that at the time, and I understand, that I was growing and changing frequencies. And as you do that, you have to leave the old people behind.
Got to shed.
In order to be able to have the new people come into your life. And that was something that takes apparently a long time if you're stubborn like I am.
It's a cocoon, man.
It's a cocoon. Exactly what it was. And the isolation gave me a time to really focus on myself. And also, so I stopped posting on social media. I stopped doing everything, stopped doing podcasts. And everybody was very like, what the heck, dude? This guy's on a roll. He's killing it. Everything's going well. And then all of a sudden, gone. And nothing's been able to be talked about because it's a sealed file as a guardianship case. And federal laws were broken by our state laws, all that kind of stuff. But also everyone in my family was taken from me. And so I was left with nothing except one person who believed in me and gave me a place to live and helped me out. And that person is still in my life today. And they're a big role in what I'm doing. And so I made it through that situation.
Your people going through shit like this will gravitate to you. Who's supposed to be, will be. Who ain't, will fall away.
Exactly.
Period.
Exactly.
You got to trust.
And that's exactly one of the parts of my vision is that there's very few people. There's like 1% of the population in the world that are mirrors. And we are the reflectors who, when people come in contact with you, you basically show them who they are.
Correct.
And so now if they're comfortable with who they are or even trying to be, then they're okay with you and they're drawn to you.
Exactly.
But if they are not, they run away quick. Right? They don't want to be nothing to do with this person because they don't want to see themselves like that.
Yeah.
And so
that's a great thing too, man. Instead of, old me would try and force things or wait, you don't like me? Or, oh man, now if it doesn't flow, it goes.
Exactly.
That's my motto
exactly.
nowadays.
If it doesn't flow, it goes. It certainly was a difficult time though, and a very recent difficult time. But I had some really amazing people placed in my life, a therapist who, man, I can't tell you how much she meant to me. Even my attorneys who've gone through it said, look, I don't know how you're able to handle this because I would either killed her or myself by now.
Oh, Jesus.
Like, this was so bad, man. The things that she did, the ways that she went about it, the violations, just everything in the world that anyone could ever do to hurt someone, she did. And tried to take my service dog from me.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And then admitted to it under oath. And I'm like, you are a horrible human being.
Definition of hell.
But she wanted me to lose everything, everyone, and to be hopeless. So I had no way of fighting back. And then I heard, rumor has it, that she did this to previous vets that she was with, and to the point where she would sue them anytime she had an opportunity, just to make their life hazardous. So I believe in pure evil, and I believe it's here.
Have you forgiven her?
I have made peace with it.
There we go. I was just going to say, because if you don't,
grateful.
Exactly. I don't know this woman clearly, but God have mercy, help her.
I hope she gets help.
I'm at the point in my life when I go through nothing that horrible, but I actually find myself feeling. I've seen like shows like, some guy, his son is killed and the guy like forgives him in court. I used to be like, oh my God. I'm like, how far is this woman disconnected from source, from God, from that thing? And you have to feel bad for somebody on this planet like that.
Yep.
Doesn't mean I forgive it and I hope she finds justice, but my God. What happened?
Yeah. Well, I believe truly that I believe there is pure evil on this earth.
Absolutely.
And I believe that it's masked as human beings. And I believe that pure evil doesn't have a soul, doesn't have a conscience, and doesn't have any empathy for another human being. And this person is that person.
Jesus.
That exact thing. The stories she would tell me about her previous things that happened to her in life. I choked out my son at 9 years old, so they took him away from me by DCF, or I gave him to my husband, or something like that. And I was
Jesus Christ.
And really, the way she said it, it was like it was a joke, but it was kind of true. And it was like, I used to stand on my sister's oxygen lines behind her. She has COPD, and laugh at her because she couldn't breathe. And I'm like, this is
okay. She's a sociopath.
Evil. She's a sociopath who preys on veterans. So now that I understand that, I'm grateful for that opportunity to go through it, because I can truly say that in the entire time that I was with her, I never did anything wrong. I never lied to her. I never did one thing to give her any reason to be able to hurt me.
Well, it sounds like you're the guy that's putting an end to it, hopefully.
Well, it's
fucking Dracula, man. Stick that thing down.
Exactly. I mean, I finally got it stopped with a permanent injunction, although the permanent injunction has never done a thing. And the government has not followed through on the own laws that are there. And I've tried to report she's violated the injunction 8 times, which two violations of this injunction is life in prison. And I can't get her off the street. I take it to the police and I go, hey, I have this. And they're like, nope, it's not a violation. You know why? Because I'm a big guy who's tattooed. How scared could I possibly be?
Correct.
And you don't understand. She has told me she would have wished she would have killed her ex-husband rather than divorce him. It would have been cheaper. And that she thought about hiring a hitman. So trauma comes in a lot of forms, but also education does too. So I learned so much from myself because I stayed steadfast to who I am. Yeah. And even through the last 2 years, when everyone turned their back on me and I still haven't been able to tell my side of the story, I have been to court 30 some odd times in the last 2 years. And how many times I've spoken or gotten a chance to have my voice heard? Once.
30 times.
And I mean, it's just been constant, barragement, harassment, constant abuse of the legal system. After the injunction was there, she's not supposed to be contacting or having any contact, but she's done her best to make sure that she can hurt me in any way she can, or thought she could, and stop me from being what I had to be. Now, was that placed into my life to see if I was really ready for what I'm doing now? And did I finally pass the final exam to get moved to the place that I am now? I believe that is the case. I believe that this all had to happen in order for me to be right here in front of you.
Awesome.
And have the audience that you and I have, and the potential chance that we know we can make a huge impact on this problem that needs to be changed. But maybe that was where I was like, hey, God, I'm ready. I want to go do it. And God was like, nope, not yet, brother. You still got to take a final exam.
You got some more challenges, man. You got to walk on the rice paper and not leave a trace type of thing.
Exactly.
So let's go out on that high note then. Give us the high note, man. Talk about the event coming up and what you're doing and the village and all that stuff.
So the idea in the event that we have, I'm at the end of this, or 2 years it's been, I guess, roughly since the beginning of this chaos. And all of a sudden I get joined up through yoga with someone here in America who had an organization called the United States Yoga Association. And he was looking for myself and Tara to join his team. And he says, let's go to India. This is on like a Tuesday. And he's like, let's go to India on Friday and go to New Delhi. And we're going to go to the second annual Asian Yogasana Championship. And I go, what? Yogasana? What is that? I go, India. I've been in yoga for 20 years and never heard of this, how is this a thing? So I was like, you know what? I always never turn down an opportunity, right? I'm going to face it.
Let's go.
Clearly there's a reason I need to go, right?
Yeah.
Plus I've got friends who in Bangladesh that I had never met. So I was like, oh, it's right next door. I'll just hop over there and go see them.
It's right next door.
But when you're a world
it's close
traveler,
on the map.
Yeah. Well, I went to Chile, down to the southernmost point of the earth, and I went to kilometer marker 0, and I spent 2 months down there basically meditating, surfing, and doing nothing but just sitting watching the clouds fly by. And I realized life is very simple. We add to it stress.
Oh my God,
we choose to bring things into our life that cause us problems and stress.
Correct.
So when I came back from there after months of being down there, I got to America and I went back to my house and I had no furniture and I kept it that way. And everybody's like, why don't you get the furniture? I was like, because I don't want any stress. And I was like, you
don't need it.
You know how much time you have when you don't have anything? You have a lot of time, brother.
It's the truth.
And so I was like, okay, got it.
Simplify.
I now have a 0 ground level base point, right? Now I know what to compare everything to. And so anything I add to my life, I know that's going to come with a certain amount of stress. That's my choice.
That's the price.
Some of it you have to take on because it's for the good of all people. Some of it you can turn away because you realize that that's not really that important.
Correct.
That's where like car payments, things like that, it's too much, you know? So it's like, I'd rather pay cash. So anyway, long story short, we get through all that stuff. Now we're ready to go. I head out to India and we're land at the airport. We were supposed to go to the hotel and have a chance to change into our nice clothes for this beautiful festival or competition that was in this big arena in New Delhi. The Prime Minister of India is supposed to be attending. The Prime Minister sent a letter to our organization inviting us to come to this, and the Secretary General, who's in charge of all yogasana and a lot of the yoga in India, which I'm not sure if anyone realizes how big yoga is over there.
Oh, yeah.
But yogasana is exactly the same as yoga as far as they took the one limb of physical practice and they extracted it from the 8-limb path. And that one limb is the asana side. And they have had it in India for just as long. It was created by just the same people that created yoga. It just never made it out to the rest of the world or was organized in India. And that sounds weird and crazy to think about because in America, it's like, well, we'd have organized that a long time ago.
Exactly.
Because, you know, we have access to things. But in India, that's not the case. Everybody was doing it in their own place. But now they've created the world.
And the Yoga Sutras, right? The basis of it.
Yep. So they finally organized it in one place, and it's called the World Yogasana Federation. And the World Yogasana Federation has given us, myself, to the opportunity, and they brought us up on stage. They had us with 2 of the ministers of India, which was crazy because I'm like, these are some of the top 5. You know, now at the time I didn't know who they were, so I was just, hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you. You know,
what's up? I'm Kris.
They walked us around. They showed us the judging stage. They had us hang medals on the athletes' necks. They were so proud to have the Americans there representing America that they took pictures. So many photos, videos.
Rock star,
man. I was like in front of all these people, and then they hand me the mic, and I'm like, you guys could have let me know that I was going to.
Hi.
Exactly. It's India, so it's, you know, it's a very different place. Very different, but amazing. They just opened up. They were very friendly, very helpful. Everything was awesome. And they gave me the information I needed to be able to get started, come back to the States, develop a United States Yogasana Federation, and basically build the first ever Yogasana team of America, and then hold a national championship this year to be able to have athletes come and compete to be on the team. And as we talked about, I wanted to add a veteran division to that so veterans can
great idea.
compete, which I told you that you should probably lead that team after it's built because that would be a great role for you. And we're hoping that Whiz is going to step up on that one. I think it'd be good. But so it's going to come up at the end of the year this year. We're going to announce the details to it on International Yoga Day. But in the meantime, as I'm coming back, I went to Bangladesh, went to Singapore, went to Bali, taught some yoga there, and then came back over through Japan and then around the world again. So I did it twice, did it recently. I did it the first time in 3 months and said, I'll never do that again. It was terrible because you don't know what time it is, what day it is, and you got sick from all the different flights and all. So this time I did it in 3 weeks.
Oh my God.
Because, you know, I'm not very
Lesson
bright.
not learned.
Yeah. When I say I have memory issues, maybe they're affecting my decisions what to do. And so, but I mean, also too, I landed in New Delhi, and when we landed in New Delhi, we were told immediately that Pakistan had just emptied their embassy and that they closed the airspace over Pakistan.
Yeah.
So we couldn't fly back that way anyway. We had to keep going. So we did. We just kept going, and I was like, well, that kind of tells me that God wanted me to keep moving. So I got through in Bali. I got a message from a friend of mine, Cyber Yoga, and he sent me this video of Ben Unchained and his AI system talking about the veteran situation.
Yeah.
And he goes, brother, you've got to see this. Check this video out. So I watched the video, and immediately I reached out to him and was like, hey, man, you want to be on my podcast? And he goes, nope.
Nope.
Now, nobody ever turns me down for my podcast.
You say no. What?
And I was like, okay.
This is me, damn it.
He's like, yeah. He goes, well, listen to why. He goes, my AI and I don't feel it's, I'm not doing any podcast, not just you. I'm not doing any podcast right now. I'm stepped away. I'm doing podcasts. Would you like to be on my show?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, absolutely, 100%. Let's do it. But he also told me on that phone call, he said, Kris, you are the architect. And I went, you know what, you say that, but it's funny. When I was a kid, I always wanted to be an architect. And after I suffered a brain injury, I realized that I couldn't ever get through architecture school. So I was like, okay, we'll just throw that dream out the window. Yeah. So, but here he says this to me and I go, architect of what? And he says, the new world. And I said, okay. And basically we hung up the phone and I flew across the ocean and then back over to Florida. And in that process, I wrote 6 books. And all of a sudden, something inside me was unlocked, and I felt all of my visions, all of the things I'd written down, all of the experiences I had come into one place.
Wow.
And it was all this just, all of a sudden it was alignment. And ever since then, he has introduced me, and I have had people come to me, call me, reach out to me, connect with me, including you.
Wow. That's right.
I had called Michael Pellegrino
Mike.
to introduce him to Ben. And during the introduction, your name came up.
Yeah, he's like, by the way.
And then Ben says, hey, do you have access to talking to Whiz? Because we'd love to talk to him about joining forces and making this thing happen. And then we were on the phone an hour later and had the best conversation. And I felt so connected with you. I was like, okay, this is alignment. This is where things get good. This is our time. So here comes the festival, the livingman.earth. The Living Man Festival.
I love it.
What a great
love
name.
the name.
What a great name. Fantastic
Living
venue.
Man.
It's out held at the Kosmos Resort in Colorado, which is a stargazing facility that has these beautiful domes that you can stay in with telescopes.
And they're clear, right?
And they're
You
clear.
can
They're glass.
Yeah.
And they've got hot tub in them. And I was like, I'm getting a hot tub one. I'd like the whole one for me.
Labor Day, right?
Labor Day weekend.
Okay.
Yeah, you can go to livingman.earth and see the website. It's got the founders. It's got all the information. Now we're still booking and looking for all of our talent and our speaking staff who's going to speak at the festival before we lay out the schedule. The schedule's coming soon, but we're in the works. Matter of fact, you and I are going to work on that today.
Absolutely.
And we're going to put that together.
How long? 3 days, 2 days, 1 day,
It's
5 days?
2 days, I think, or 3 days, but it's like $222. 22% of it goes back into Vets to Yoga to help veterans. So it's for a good cause. This is nonprofit stuff. And so, we're obviously
charitable donation.
100% charitable donation. And obviously now with you involved, we're going to support the programs there.
Yeah.
So then Ben introduces me to a guy who actually his job in life is, or his goal in life is to help veterans find financing for nonprofits. That's what he does. He knows how to find RFPs. He knows how to apply for them. He knows how to do all the paperwork.
We need help with that,
grants. I got the guy.
Yep.
All we have to do is get him out of corporate America and put him to work for us doing this full time.
This could be.
Train 3 people. So I've already got this vision for him. And I said, as soon as I have the funding, which is coming soon, I'm going to hire you from your corporate job to do this and replicate it to 3 or 4 other vets so that we can get this to everyone else.
Train the trainer.
Man, I've had so many people reach out since that podcast released. And they're like, man, the VA killed my husband. And I would love to talk to him because I'm trying to get my nonprofit started. And I don't know where to go. And I was like, and I'm like, well, first of all, he's only working with me right now because he doesn't have the bandwidth or time, because he's working in corporate America.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, how hard it is to say, like, listen, I would love to help you out, but right now it's just not.
We will.
But it's coming. And I just need people to know that it's happening, and it's happening a lot faster than I would have ever believed.
Well, it's happening exactly when it's supposed to.
Exactly right.
Everything happens exactly when it's supposed to and why it's supposed to.
And when it does happen fast.
And yes.
It starts rolling pretty quickly.
Be careful what you wish for.
Exactly. I'm like, whoa. So livingman.earth Labor Day weekend is going to be amazing.
Earth.
It's at a beautiful facility. We've got all the different modalities of healing. It's all about veterans. We're going to try
medicines
to
are legal in Colorado,
That's
folks.
That's right, brother. Everything is going to be legally done. Everything's going to be by the books. And we have Ben coming with his unwind machine, which is absolutely incredible. This machine.
Check him out on Instagram, folks.
Unchained.earth, I think is his handle. And he's absolutely incredible. The machine that he has basically reconnects the soul to the body. and resets your entire nervous system.
Unchained.earth. Yep.
Unchained. Perfect. Yeah. And
Absolutely.
go check him out. He's also got a podcast, but
Great
this guy
dude.
is just a great guy. He's actually my COO of now. That's yoga, because that's how aligned he and I were. And I was like, listen, brother, I need you to handle stuff, because his AI gave him hit the term commander for him, which he feels very guilty about because he has all these veteran friends and everyone else around him, but he's not a vet. And I said to him, I said, brother, what you have to understand is someone who actually was trained and served under this army can't lead the new world army.
That's exactly right.
You need somebody without any of the programming.
Yeah. This is how you're serving. This is how you will be of service.
Exactly. And so now I've had an entire vision of how to get the 100,000 homeless vets that are living on the streets off the streets. Which, what could we do with 100,000 vets if we actually picked them up and trained them and taught them how to be life? We could really have some effect on the earth. Reached out to many different not-for-profits across the country, all of which have said, yes, I'm happy to be on board with what you're doing. I believe in it. I think it's the right thing to do.
I love
this is our cure. This is our solution. This is what we can do to make this go away. And I believe with $15 million, 1 year, and 100 servicemen who come out of the service directly to our program, that we'll have 100 veterans at the end of the year, and we can show them that they are fine. But not only are they fine, but they're productive members of society. Our system is working, and we've got a solution. And it's got to come from us. It can't come from the government, because you heard what they said in the AI thing. We have to keep that whole visual patriotic righteousness and all that. Because
that was shocking.
Dude, did that not catch you?
That freaked me right the fuck out.
It makes me cry every time I see it. And I'm one of those people when...
It's on, go to unchained.earth, folks, and watch that AI video. Fuck me, man.
I was like, wow. I've watched it at least 20 times, and I've cried every time, because compassion and empathy are, to me, so beautiful. They bring me to that place where we went.
Amen.
And that was where we felt that feeling that you only felt that time. But we're
supposed to be feeling that almost all the. That's our default state, man. Our natural state. Exactly. But we did all this, didn't we?
And what are we doing? Yeah. We can feel like that all the time. And so now I'm living that life in love and truth and alignment. And guess what?
That Garden of Eden, man.
I'm finding my way back to there, but here. And so now it's all just being brought to me, around me, and everyone's formulating. And it's not me that's doing it.
Correct.
It's happening through me. And so I'm the willing vessel who is willing to be put through so much in my life that it made me so strong that I would be able to have this opportunity to be able to go in front of people, to be able to speak to veterans, to go get the homeless vets off the street, to know how to fix the problem in entirety. One solution. Like you say, one
team, one fight, man.
So now that team's being built, and I believe that this is the time. This is where we change the earth.
The time is now.
And everything else about it. Because we've got the support of the government. The government wants to fix this. We've got the right people in power. We've got the right people pulling the strings. And because of people like you who have laid the framework for this, it's thank you. It's going to make me look really good type thing,
Exactly.
I don't want to look really good. I don't want to be, but also you guys put in all the hard labor and all the intensity and all, but now I have an idea and a vision that you're going to mentor me and help me with, and that's going to bring the solution, which doesn't really matter where it all came from as long as it happens, but I'm so grateful that there's people like you that have experience in this, that know their way around, that are given the opportunities now to be in front of the big dogs and to get some chances to talk to these guys. And you're right. Secretary Collins is the right guy to be doing it, because I believe when I see him now online, I'm like, this guy is the one that's going to make a difference.
Correct.
And Trump is too.
He said it. If it's going to be anybody, it's going to be us. Yes, exactly. It wasn't who didn't fail it. Well, man, I told you I think I'm robbing a village somewhere of an idiot. So I had no other choice. I was circling the drain, and here I am. It brought me to you today. But my brother, thank you. So. It's our psychedelic coin, man. So there's our psychedelic fighter pilot. So my brother,
amazing. I love it.
Thanks for making the drive over here, man. And I got some other stuff too.
So sweet. Gifts for being on the show.
You're out of uniform, man. So there's the No Fallen Heroes, the OG, man. That's the original. That's the original fighter pilot. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So, we got
AJ Buckley, CBS SEAL team. He wore that on for this season, man. As Sonny's official hat.
That's a great logo.
And of course, you get our
all your paraphernalia.
Our psychedelic Maverick Mind.
Sick. We can match.
And then a hoodie in one of those things.
Man,
too,
I love that. That's such a great logo.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
That's my brother Chad from Mental Joe. He had, so the psychedelic was up here on the visor or up here. And I'm like, no, dude, let's put it in the visor. So we put that in the visor and then we put our logo up there as well.
That looks perfect. I think that's amazing. I mean, although the idea of someone flying around on psychedelics.
Yeah, no, don't do that at home.
Not what we're promoting.
Yeah. I've never done that and don't recommend it. I that.
Just a disclaimer real quick.
Yeah, that's never happened, never will.
So that's vetstoyoga.org is going to be up.
vetstoyoga.org.
My website's up, www.KristopherPace, Kris.
With a K, folks.
Yep.
K.
Is up with a lot of information, although with all the new stuff that's happened, it's going to be impossible to keep the bio and such up to date because
it's changing by the minute.
So, we'll do our best, right? But everything.
And then for the event again?
Is livingman.earth.
Livingman.earth, folks.
Tickets are going on sale very shortly, or really after we talk, because we've got to go ahead and solidify who the speakers are, who the talent is, and everything else.
Count me in, man.
We're done.
Count no fallen heroes
We'd like
in.
to have the jet there. That'd be awesome if we can get it over to the facility.
I think we're going to be out there. Well, I mean, like I told you, I'm flying the jet out on Thursday to keep it out there for the summer. So
it'll be close by.
It'll be up in Rifle.
That's synchronicity right there.
That is. So where is it in Colorado again?
It's up in the northern part of Colorado, I guess, close to the border. So, I mean, it's up like 3 hours.
Like Telluride or something up around there?
Yeah, if you look on the website, it tells you the address. And but they also are doing a hempcrete dome village there for veterans.
Oh, cool.
And it's already been pre-approved. They're already building the domes. And that's going to be, I'm like, okay, there's my veteran village that I've always envisioned.
Yeah.
Where we have those in every state where veterans can always go there, be helped, be around other vets and find new avenues to pursue life or get healthcare or help, whatever.
This is your escape place, man.
That's it. Yeah. Just give them a place to go and they're going to be fine. It's just, we need the community.
Because usually when we separate from service, man, we lose that brotherhood. We lose that sisterhood. We lose that squadron, that sense of purpose. And when you're a raging single out in the world, when they just kind of said, good luck, we can find some bad stuff. But thankfully, you and I pulled out of those nosedives and we're putting the ladder down to help our brothers and sisters.
You got all the right words and all the right stuff. And now I'm hoping to add to that and bring to it the rest of the puzzle pieces so that we can make this thing happen.
Fuck yeah, man. All right, my brother.
22-0 initiative. Let's
do it. So Kristopher Pace, folks, on Instagram too. That's what it says as well. Bro, thanks for making the drive. This is the beginning of an incredible squadron mate relationship. We're going to help you guys as much as we can, and one team, one fight. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's Kristopher Pace. Thanks for joining me, my brother, on the Max Afterburner podcast. Everybody else, have a great rest of your day. Make sure you're hedged. Fights on. Namaste. And Basi Basi. Whiz and Kris out.